Hey guys, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Becca and today I am bringing you a pretty big summer book haul. So I did not do a book haul in the month of July because I didn't feel like I had a lot of books to show you guys. I didn't feel like I'd hauled a lot. However, thinking about it, there were quite a few books that I received right at the end of the month, which made it too late for me to bring you a July book haul when really one was kind of necessary. So today I do have 18 books to share with you guys. Most of them I did acquire in July, and then the ones from August are just from the first couple of weeks of the month. As when you are watching this, I will be, I think if this goes up the day that I think it will, I will be on my way back from Rome, so this video has been filmed a teensy bit in advance, so you guys still have some content to watch while I am not here. So as usual, we will be splitting my book haul up into sections of where I acquired them from, and this month these sections will be library books, books I've received as gifts, books I bought secondhand, books I bought brand new, and also books I've received in subscription boxes. So that being said, this video needs no other introduction, so let's get stuck into it, starting with my library books. So if you guys have been watching my vlogs, you may know that recently I went to the good library that's in my area and I picked up 4 books from there. The first one being Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. Now this is a children's book that everybody really seems to love. People have been nagging me to read this for the longest time. So on a whim, when I was in my library, I did check out the children's section and I did find it there. So as far as I'm aware, this book follows Morrigan Crow, who is a cursed child, and that means that everybody in the town that she's from blames her for every single bad thing that happens there. Morrigan is fated to die on her 10th or 11th birthday because that's just what happens with cursed children. However, when that birthday does approach, she's whisked away by a man called Jupiter North, who takes her to Nevermore. I don't really know much else apart from that, except that there is some kind of magical competition or a tournament or something that takes place in Nevermore that happens in here. This is a children's book that everybody absolutely loves, even people who don't really read a lot of children's books, and I think all of my friends, I'm not sure if Jade has read this yet, but I think all of my booktube friends have read this book and absolutely loved it, so I will be the last one jumping on this hype train. The next book I picked up from my library I don't know a great deal about, but that is Empress of All Seasons by Miko Jean. This is a young adult East Asian fantasy, which you guys know that I absolutely love, so I haven't really looked into the plot of this because essentially all you need to tell me is that something is an East Asian fantasy and I will read it. This is one of my anticipated releases of 2019. However, I did not buy it because when I went to the library a few months ago, this book was on a coming soon stand. So since then I have been checking my library's database every couple of weeks to see if it was in yet, and the database was showing me nothing. However, lo and behold, when I head to the library, it is right there on the shelf. So now I do finally have it in my hands, and I will hopefully be able to get to it sometime soon and give you a little bit more detail on the plot of this. I also picked up Birthday by Meredith Russo. This is another relatively new release, and this is a young adult contemporary story that follows 2 characters who were born on the same day at the same time in the same place. I believe that this book follows them on the same day, assumedly their shared birthday, for a time period of 6 years. I know a lot of people have read this and loved it. The way that the synopsis is written, it reminds me a lot of One Day by David Nichols, which is my favourite adult contemporary romance story. I do also believe that this has queer rep in it. It doesn't say anything in the synopsis about that, but I think I've heard people say that there is trans rep in this book. Please don't hold me to that right now. I'm pretty sure I have heard people say that, but I am not 100% sure myself. But the premise of this definitely has me interested. I also picked up Heartstopper Volume 1 by Alice Oseman. This is the first volume of the bind up of Alice Oseman's webcomic that follows 2 boys called Nick and Charlie, who are actually side characters in one of Alice Oseman's books. I think it's Solitaire, and Charlie is the main character of Solitaire's brother, and in the book Charlie and Nick are a couple, and the Heartstopper webcomic tells the story of how they met, how they became friends, etc, etc. So I have already read this, as you will have seen if you have watched my mid-August wrap-up. I did absolutely love it. I picked this up because I know a lot of people really enjoy it. Gavin absolutely loved it, Cody absolutely loves it, so when I saw it I definitely knew I had to pick it up, especially as if it wasn't for me it wouldn't take up too much time, as it is a webcomic and also the frames are pretty big with not a lot of text. But what actually happened is that I have fallen in love with this story, and I have actually already read up to where volume 2 ends on Tapas. So as I've fallen in love with this story, I'm so glad that I picked it up. So next we'll move on to the gifts, the first of which are of course from the wonderful Gavin from Gavin Hetherington. It's kind of redundant me shouting Gavin out at this point, but his channel will be be linked in the description box. He is hilarious and oh so generous and just a wonderful friend. And the first book that he sent me was right at the beginning of the month, and that was Storm of Swords by George R.R. Martin. You guys know there has been one of these A Song of Ice and Fire editions in my last few book hauls, but Gavin for some reason has decided that I need to have this ridiculously fancy edition of the A Song of Ice and Fire series. So every so often he has been sending me the next book in the series. This one is the third book in the series of Storm of Swords. You guys will have seen them by now, but I will take it out of its sleeve to show you. So we have the fancy sleeve with the number 3 on the spine. My favourite thing about these is the map of Westeros that is on the front and the back covers. We also have illustrated end pages in these, which are always beautiful. And then lastly, of course, we have the gold sprayed edges. So once again, thank you to Gav for sending this to me. You know how much I appreciate and love you. But it does not stop there, because you guys also probably know that I did go and meet Gav a couple of weeks ago. We went to York, we had an absolutely lovely day, and he did bring me 2 more books when I went to see him. And the first one of those I knew that he had gotten for me, and that is Alice in Wonderland by Simon James Green. This is a young adult story with a male romance, and I don't know too much about it, but it follows a boy who works in a theme park called Wonderland, and as I said, there is a male romance in here as well. Simon James Green did do a sign-in. I think it was at the store that Gav works in, so he was kind enough to get this signed and personalised to me as well. And then the last book that Gav has gotten me in the last couple of months is The Land of Raw by Jenny McLachlan. This is the August Waterstones children's book of the month. Again, don't know too much about the plot of this. I am very excited to read this though. I have heard that it is a mix of Jumanji and The Neverending Story. I can hear Gav singing in my brain every time I say The Neverending Story. But unless I am mistaken, this follows a child or children who imagine this world in their minds, and then the world becomes real and they are transported to it, possibly. This is an absolutely beautiful quality book. You have fold out end pages on both sides, and it is also illustrated all the way throughout, and I just think that the quality of this book is absolutely stunning. I did receive 3 more books as well. These are from the lovely Victoria. Thank you so much for sending these to me. You guys never ever have to send me anything at all. Obviously it is nice when you do, and I love receiving gifts from you, and I 100% appreciate them. But Victoria sent me volume 6, volume 7 and volume 8 of Children of the Whales by Abby Umeda. This is a manga series that I have been loving. I do own volumes 1 to 5. I've read up to volume 3, and I think I mentioned in maybe a vlog or just a general video that I didn't want to read all of the volumes of Children of the Whales that I had, because they're great for readathons and they're great for like a break from really thick dense fantasy, and I didn't have that many volumes left that I owned. And Victoria sent me the 3 next ones in the series, so now I have plenty to read, and I am honestly so grateful. I have been getting into manga recently, but obviously because they don't take too long to read, they can end up being kind of pricey, because I can blast through like 2 of these in a day, and then obviously I would have to buy more. So I am definitely so appreciative of this gift. If you guys don't know what Children of the Whales is about, it follows a 14-year-old boy called Chakaro, who is an archivist on the Mud Whale, which is an island that floats along on the Sea of Sand. This civilization is very removed from the rest of civilization. They don't know anything about the outside world except for that it exists, and then one day on their travels they float past another island. They go to scout it for supplies, and they come across the first human they have ever encountered from outside of their community. And like I said, I have been absolutely adoring this series. The art style is my favorite manga art style that I have encountered yet, and I am definitely very excited to be continuing sometime soon. Next we will move on to the books that I've received from subscription boxes, the first of which is The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg. So I did do a full reading vlog on this where I unboxed the subscription box that it came in, and then I also read it and reviewed it in that vlog as well. But this was the June Shelflove crate box, which was kindly sent to me free of charge in order for me to make that video. Shelflove crate are a young adult sci-fi and fantasy subscription box, and if you are interested in purchasing one, all of my rep codes are in my description box, but my Shelflove crate code is Becca10, and that will get you a discount on your first purchase. So The Kingdom by Jess Rothenberg is a young adult sci-fi that takes place in this Disneyland-esque theme park. We follow our main character Anna, who is a fantasist, which is essentially a person who has been manufactured. She's kind of like an android, and she has been manufactured to fulfill the role of a Disney princess. As I said, I have already read this. It does deal with a few dark topics such as animal abuse and also sexual assault, if any of those topics do affect you. The second book I received from a subscription box was Sanctuary by VV James. This came in the July Illumicrate, and if you would like to purchase an Illumicrate, my code is Becca5, and that will get you a 5% discount off either a 3-month or 6-month purchase. I have not read this one as of yet, but it is a Illumicrate edition, so it has green sprayed edges. I don't know a great deal about this, but this is an adult mystery that kicks off with the football team's star quarterback dying, and I also believe that there are some magical or occult themes in here as well, as the theme of the box that this came in was It's a Kind of Magic, and as you can probably see, we have some pentagrams and witchy symbols around the edge of this book. But that is pretty much all I know about it, so I'm definitely intrigued because I don't know anything about it, and I'm hoping that I can get to it sometime soon. And now for the books that I purchased this month, we will start off with the secondhand ones. The first 3 I picked up when I went into Beverly with Cody when she came to visit me for the weekend. Surprisingly, I got these from 3 different shops, even though they are all the same edition. The books that I picked up were Middlemarch by George Eliot, 5 Orange Pips and Other Cases, and The Adventure of the Engineer's Thumb and Other Cases, both by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So these are the Penguin English Library classics. I do collect classics in this edition. I think I have around 4 or 5 already. I don't read a great deal of classics. I would say that I read somewhere between 2 and 5 a year, but as I don't necessarily have a huge interest in any particular classic, I do just pick up any of these editions when I see them secondhand, and I kind of let that decide which classics I'm going to read, as I don't have a particular lean into any kind of type of classic, I guess, or any particular classic author. So as a result of that, I don't know a great deal about these. I know that these 2, I'm going to assume that the short stories, the short story bind-ups in the Sherlock Holmes series, because there's so much Sherlock Holmes, like I would have no idea where to start, but I am assuming that you can just dip in and out of Sherlock Holmes wherever you want to start, and there's no overarching plot. So these are both Sherlock Holmes books. And then Middlemarch by George Eliot, I literally have no idea what it's about. She is a chunky girl though, I will say that. And Cody said that a lot of people say that Middlemarch is really good, so I obviously would like to read it at some point because I do own it now, but I don't really know what it's about. And then the other book that I picked up secondhand, I did pick up quite recently, and I, again, don't know what this is about, but that is Shadow Scent: The Darkest Bloom by P.M. Freestone. So in the UK supermarket chain called Tesco, they do have a charity book stand at the end of the checkouts in every store that I've been into. I think it's a kind of universal Tesco thing now, where you can either pay £1 to take a book off the stand, or you can pay 50p and swap a book. So as I was leaving Tesco, I did spot this rose gold spine on the stand, so I went to check it out, and I haven't actually heard of this book. I think I've seen it in Waterstones. I have since I bought it, but I think previous to buying it I had seen it in Waterstones. But I knew just from looking at the spine that it was a young adult fantasy, so I did look at the publishing page, and it is a 2019 release. So I was like, you know what, I haven't heard of this book, I haven't heard of anybody reading it, but in my last haul I did pick up The Furies on a whim, and I absolutely loved it, so I decided to just pick it up on a whim. And all I know about this is that it is a young adult fantasy, and that the magic system centers around scent and perfume and things like that. And then finally, the last 2 books of this book haul are the books that I have bought brand new this month. Both of them are pretty predictable, and I have mentioned them in previous videos, but the first one is The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kirsten White. July was the first time in the history of Bookopoly that I have failed a Bookopoly TBR, and my punishment is to read a book that everybody hates. Now, I know for a fact that everybody does not hate this book, but I did put a tweet out and ask people to tell me the books that they would not recommend their enemies read, and then I put 50 of them in a jar and pulled a random one out, and the one that came out was The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. And as it was only available on Scribd as an audiobook and my library did not have it, I did have to purchase a copy. This got quite a lot of buzz when it was released, and I do remember quite a few people liking it, and all I really know about it is that it follows Elizabeth Frankenstein, who plays a very minor part. I think she maybe has like 1 line or 1 page about her in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which I have read, but when I was 15, so I don't remember a whole lot. And this is essentially Elizabeth Frankenstein's story of having to live with and tolerate Victor Frankenstein. Kirsten White is known for doing historical retellings, or feminist retellings, I guess, and she has previously done a Vlad the Impaler retelling, but where Vlad is a female. And then we also have The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. She is working on something new that I'm interested in, but I can't remember what it is. And then obviously she also wrote Slayer, which, while not historical, is a Buffy spin-off. So similar to authors like Gregory Maguire, she takes things from history or more from literature and puts her own spin on it, which personally are some of my favourite stories. And another one that's on my August TBR, of course, is Gemina by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. You guys know I absolutely adored Illumicrate. I was blown away by how much I loved it, and so I immediately picked up Gemina, and this is subsequently on my August TBR. So Gemina is the second book in the Illumicrate files, which I'm sure you guys know is a mixed media young adult sci-fi story. I absolutely love J. Kristoff, so I always thought that I was going to love this series, but I wasn't sure, as Illumicrate is the first young adult book that I've read by J. And the plot of this is that we follow two teenagers who have just broken up when the planet is attacked by this evil corporation. They are then evacuated onto different ships, and then the story kind of takes place on the survivors fleet as chaos ensues because none of these ships were meant to handle so many people, and as some of the ships are severely damaged, the attacking ship is following them at a faster pace than the survivors fleet can currently move. So there is a lot of tension in here, there are some horror aspects in here, and I'm definitely excited to see what happens in Gemina. I do know of a few people who have said that they find Gemina quite similar to Illumicrate and that it can be a little bit repetitive. However, I did read Illumicrate, listening to the audiobook and reading it physically, because I did really enjoy reading Illumicrate like that, and I essentially just wanted more. So as long as Gemina gives me more, I think I will enjoy it. So that is it for my August book haul. Please let me know if you have read any of these and what you thought of them, especially if they are the ones that I have not yet read myself. Please also don't forget to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to. If you head into my description box, you will find those rep codes that I just mentioned, as well as a link to my Goodreads, Instagram and Twitter if you'd like to follow me on any of those, and a link to my Bookish body butter and candle website, the Instagram for that, and a 10% off discount code. But that's it from me today, guys. Bye!
Oh, you bite your friend like chocolate. You say you will go where nobody knows, with guns hidden under our petticoats. We're never gonna quit it, no, we're never gonna quit it, no.